Hi, this is Mrs. Casar. We are continuing the series for setting up a lab for study purposes in Aruba, USA. This time we're gonna install and link the virtual mobility controller to the mobility conductor. So we're gonna start with installing the VMC. We have the OVA file here, which is gonna double click it, which is a name. Because this is only a lab, we can just leave the resources that the OVA file is presenting us, but in order to do it in a production environment, we will have to choose accordingly the size of the environment. We turn on the machine, we click enter and enter, and we're just gonna wait a few minutes until the wizard for setting up a new virtual mobility controller starts.
Con respeto también, vecino, realmente es por poner gorro, no por tomar tanto en la banqueta, porque así en sí no tomo en la banqueta, nomás lo que salgo es a vigilar a mis hijos, pero bueno, ahí tómenlo como ustedes quieren en la colonia, por eso les digo que me vale 5X a mí, realmente.
Because this is a lab only, we can just leave the resources as they come in the OVA file. But if you're going to do a production environment, you will need to choose accordingly to the size of the environment. So let's start the virtual machine now. Let's click enter and then enter again. And we're going to wait a few minutes until the initial wizard loads up so we can start configuring this VMC. Very important, the versions for the mobility conductor, for virtual mobility controller should be the same. They can be a little different. Aruba recommends only 2 minor versions of difference, like if the mobility conductor is 8.7, the virtual mobility controller shouldn't be less than 8.5. But right now I chose them in the same version of code, so we won't have to upgrade or downgrade in either way. So let's wait for the wizard. Now that it is loaded, we can start the setup. Full setup is what we're going to use. Say yes. And we start with the name. So it's going to be VMC01 underscore app. It's a managed device because it's going to be controlled by the mobility conductor. MD or enter. It's going to be an IPv4 tunnel. The IP or the FQDN, right now we have IP, so it's 192.168.1.200. The master switch type is MM. You can just click enter. It's a VPN concentrator now. It connects via VPN now. Is a virtual mobility master or virtual mobility conductor? Yes. We're going to use a pre-shared key with IP. This is a password you will have to set up here and in the mobility conductor, so use a simple one because it's a lab. Well, I made a mistake, so we do it again. There you go. For this time, we are not enabling any redundancy. VLAN ID is 1. The port is 000. Access. The IP assignment is going to be static. 192.168.1.208. The mask is the same, /24. 192.168.1.1 for the gateway. The DNS, we're going to use the external one too. No for IPv6. Port channel right now, no. Since I'm in Mexico, we're going to use a MEX. Yes. Since I'm in Monterrey, we're going to use America Monterrey. In UTC, it's going to be 16. Monterrey is -6. It's going to be 22. 57. 30. The date is alright. You want to create an admin account? Yes. We're going to use the same password as for the mobility conductor. You check the settings and you accept the changes. Now we are going to wait, as we did with the mobility conductor, to restart loading the configuration from the wizard. Once it finishes, we will go to the mobility conductor and add this virtual mobility controller. Let's just wait a couple of minutes. Now that it has finished, we're going to enter to check out connectivity. To the IP of the controller itself, to the mobility conductor, to the gateway. We're going to check to internet even. Okay, probably the pin that didn't work to the mobility conductor is because the IPsec is not yet ready, and sometimes that happens. But let's check it out. We are gonna jump to the mobility conductor to configure this virtual mobility controller. We enter that. Now that we are here, we can enter with credentials. We're going to be in mobility master level, controllers. We're going to use IPsec key, the IP of the controller, the key that we configure in the wizard. Click submit. Pending changes, deploy changes. And then we are gonna start configuring for, so when it joins the mobility conductor, we can send configurations to the mobility controller. In manage network, we click add to set up a new group that is going to be lab. So inside lab, we can add now the controller. For the controller, we will need the host name that we configure and the MAC address. Well, now that we are back in the mobility conductor, we're going to do show switches. So now we see the virtual mobility controller, but in configure state it says unknown because we haven't added it in the mobility conductor. It's only that the virtual mobility controller established the IPsec tunnel, but we actually need to add it in the manage device part, so that's what we're going to do now. So here we put the name, could be the same one or a different one. The MAC address is C29 4F57ED. 4F57ED, and the type is a virtual applied. So we click submit, click pending, deploy changes. Now it's here, and we will just need to wait a few minutes until it changes from unknown to update successful. Now you see that it's not unknown anymore. We will wait. It just takes a few minutes the first time, but then it will be faster, the config propagation. Now you see that it says update required, although it says status down. Now status up, config propagation. It's almost, will be almost done. It's a matter of time, like I said. In the previous command, you see the config ID changed from -1 to 22, and in the last one it says update successful. So now we are ready to add the AP to the network and get it registered on the virtual mobility controller and start configuring the SSIDs. So I'll see you in the next video.